All right, welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. And as predicted, I have not really finished much. I have gotten a lot read, but I have not finished anything because I went on a trip with friends last weekend and I read a little, but really that was not the goal of the trip. The goal of the trip was to eat cheese, and cheese I did eat. I we went to Wisconsin because there was a Guardians Brewers game and it was my friend's birthday and they wanted to go to that stadium, which is a domed stadium, which is great because no rain delay and it was a rainy day, but bad because it was stuffy. So I don't know how I feel about domes for baseball games. I'm just saying, it was a little, like I said, stuffy. It wasn't until like the fifth or sixth inning that they like turned on the AC or even just let any air move. It was just, but we had a lake house and it was lovely and we had a great time. If you watched my book reorganization thing earlier this week, you saw the 2 books I got from the bookstore and they delight me. They stare at me from over here on the TBR cart. But if you were someone who has always been like, I wanted a tour of your bookshelves, there is a very informal tour of my bookshelves now, and that's how we have this new view. I like it. It's grown on me. I'm good with it for now until I get more books that I have to shove onto the shelf somewhere. So, haven't finished anything, but I have many opinions on the 3 things that I'm really in the middle of. I've put The Siege of Burning Glass on pause until I can get the audiobook, which is not on sale until this coming Tuesday. And I might be willing to spend a credit on that. I have credits. So if my library doesn't get it right away, I would do that for the sake of this project. Because I only have 2 more Ursula K. Le Guin books left. That one and The Girl with the Skin or something. I don't have the book near me. But that's my last one. I now have 2 library copies. Because I went to the library today because I thought I'd put a hold on a DVD. I think it was for the movie Stranger Days, which is like an older sci-fi movie. And like, I thought it was DVD. It even said it was by James Cameron, which I guess this book is by James Cameron. So anyways, I now have 2 copies of that book. And then this weird book I'm not going to read because I wanted the movie. So that might happen next week. I don't know. Depends on when I finish these 3 books and where my headspace is at. We start full term on Monday. I'm getting ready. I've been doing a lot of filming because I'm doing an online class. And it's very different than filming from this, but it also like, I'm using a lot of my skills. I've acquired some transferable skills, guys. Okay, so the thing that I am excited to get into more, but it's probably not my highest priority just because I got really into a book recently. But Seventh Bride. I'm this far now. I'm having a good time. This is an amazing cover for this book, by the way. Just so you know, great cover for this book. Yeah, I just really like Rhea. I like Rhea. I like the women that she has met at this house because she's the 7th bride. So there are other brides that she gets to meet, and they are all big personalities. I would expect nothing less from a T. Kingfisher. So, like, really the theme of this week is I'm reading 3 authors who I kind of all adore, and that's kind of made it hard for me to read because I just, like, don't know where to put my attention. And this one, I think, does suffer from the fact that I don't have an ebook because the ebook's on Kindle Unlimited, and I don't pay for Kindle Unlimited. And I could pay the $2 to get the ebook, but I already paid the 20 Canadian dollars to buy this book that my cat bit. And so, like, my brain's just like, you need to not just spend money on things that you already own. So I only get to read this when I can, like, sit down and read a book. Which hasn't been, like, super often, which is probably why my audiobook has been doing the best. But also the audiobook is, like, content-wise, I just want to finish. I need to know what's happening. And it gives me cozy vibes. Like, all my books are giving me, like, I want to read energy, which is good. I'm just torn by all the things. So I'm not very far into this. This is very creepy, though. Great creepy energy. If you like the animal companions T. Kingfisher does, the animal companion here is a hedgehog. It's adorable. You know, like, it's pretty great. The other thing I started since we last chatted is Lost Places by Sarah Pinsker. I'm about halfway through. This book is so tightly bound. I got the ebook of it, which is why I was able to read it a bit on my trip. Yes, I am this far. I am really liking this short story collection, by the way. Oh, there's a bookmark in here. I could use the bookmark. This just tells you that I have not been reading from my physical edition. But Sarah Pinsker is someone, if you're new here, I read 3 or 4 years ago. I read We Are the Satellites, which is a standalone science fiction book about, it's near future sci-fi, where we now have these devices that you could have implanted to allow you to do like perfect multitasking. But not everyone could have access to this. But it was obviously a tech that was going to greatly change how everyone interacted with the space, whether you had it or not. And it goes into those repercussions through the lens of this family, where half the family can have the implant and half can't or choose not to. And she is so good in my mind of taking these like very interesting near future sci-fi ideas and playing around with it. And that's very apparent here. But she's also like kind of a horror writer, which I have her horror novella arc, and I'm excited to read it. It's like Haunt Sweet Home or something like that. Because the only other short story I read by her is in this collection. Let's see if I can find the table of contents. It's Where Oaken Hearts Do Gather. That is, I think it won the Nebula and the Hugo when it came out. It's a very good short story. Highly recommend. But that one's more of horror, haunting, folklore-y. Not even folklore-y, but it's just like, it's creepy. It's unsettling. It's not jump scare horror. It's not gruesome horror. It's a story you tell about around a campfire, unsettling horror. And that's like her type of thing. So like half of these have been like that, and half of these have been like near future sci-fi, and I'm loving them. There's one here that's called, where is it? Everything is Closed Today. I thought that had to have been written after 2020, and it had been a commentary on lockdown in 2020, because it felt like it. It wasn't a disease. There was a different reason why everything was closed today, and why no one was able to go back to work, and what it kind of caused, and the fear and the lack of community. And it was, I thought for sure it had to be. No, she wrote that in 2019. Like, wild to me. I think I'm having deja vu on one of the stories. I feel like I must have read The Court Magician before, because I feel like I've read it before. And I don't know when or where I would have read it. It might have been before I knew Sarah Pinsker's name, so I was just reading a short story from like a light magazine, and I just didn't know it was her. I really like Two Truths and a Lie. And The Court Magician were definitely like very creepy. I don't understand the title, The Left the Century to Sit Unmoved, but that was a fun, creepy one too. Like, I liked all of these. I think the only one I didn't really like, and I think it's just more that the project of it wasn't for me, is I frequently hear music in the very heart of noise. It just listed a bunch of important 20th century artistic figures, and it was about New York. I think it's about the process of art and connecting to art, and it wasn't bad. I just got bored because it was just listings of names, and I just wasn't connecting with, I think, the theme as much as I should have been. So, this much. Oh, what does it have in the back? A living flag, yes. A mysterious ballad, yes. A hotel that shouldn't exist. Have I read that one? I don't know. A group of girls go camping. Haven't read that one yet. Half-remembered children's TV show. Yeah, that one was Two Truths and a Lie, and that was a good creep. It was a good creep. So, I'm really liking this. This is definitely one of those short story collections that I would have as almost like an auto-recommend. Not because it's like Ted Chiang or Ken Liu, like, oh my god, you're gonna feel things and cry and blah, blah, blah. These are really fun and accessible, and like what you think of when you think, I'm gonna read a short story, it's gonna captivate me for 20 to 40 minutes, and then I will feel complete afterwards. She is so good at that. They are so tight. And that's just like not common, like at all. So I'm really loving that. And then the book that's been consuming me, and probably what I will read after I edit this video, because I am behind. These videos go up at 7:45 on Friday, and it is currently probably 5:30 on Thursday. So I'm cutting it close for myself, but it is what it is. I really hadn't read enough yesterday, and I've been busy filming other things, so it is what it is. But The Mirror Dance. This book's fascinating. It's the longest one so far, and it's the one that's probably, like, I feel like I've been accumulating to this point. And this is even like a big favorite in the series by fandoms. I think that's a different one that starts with an M. Don't remember. Memory something, probably. And so this one, though, like, we're back in Barriar, which, like, fascinating planet. And a thing happens that I didn't know could happen in this book, which was like, whoa. We're dealing with a character we met in just the previous book, so, like, direct consequences to meeting a character. It is dealing with some heavy stuff. Woo boy. But then it kind of just reminded me that, like, we've kind of been dealing with this on and off the entire series. And then I've started to have these connections of, like, this series is really, like, looking at change, rehabilitation, redemption, and the different amounts of that. It's so interesting. It's a very uncomfortable. I will say that if you do not like to be in the headspace of someone who, basically is on the verge of committing sexual assault and is committing like sexual harassment, that happens for a chapter in this book. And it's very unsettling. It's very uncomfortable. And it is a point of view character that you follow. And it does not matter that you understand a little bit why this person is the way they are. It's just like, fair warning. That's a thing that happens. The other time in the series where we've had a character that we couldn't really, I think, hate, who did something like this, they were never a point of view character. And I just think it's really interesting the amount of empathy, but also just direct, this is still bad that the series deals with. Like, it's so messy, which means there are times where the thought experiment of it all, I don't necessarily agree with. But at the same time, I think it also makes me think about, like, this is largely a war civilization, and there are many moments where people make decisions and people die as a result. Like, in the first 2 books of the series, one of the love interests is called, like, the Butcher of something, Butcher of Kamar. And, like, he is responsible for many deaths. And it's just kind of one of those things where, like, you know, we are, I think, more easily able to forgive some of those things than we are others. And I think it makes me think, should I be doing that? Is that just because, like, I'm reading science fiction and fantasy and, like, people just kill each other in science fiction and fantasy and I'm just, like, desensitized to it? And, like, what's the context? And I think it's forcing you to realize that, like, this is still bad, what these characters have done. But it's not quite, like, completely binary, that everything about these things are super messy. So it means it has messy repercussions, so you're not always going to agree with the thought experiment. It's going to make you uncomfortable. But personally, I do think it's handled with care, and I don't think it's handled in a way where the victims are brushed off, while you're also seeing the flawed humanity of these characters. It's so messy. It's so messy. Woof. It's messier than stuff that Robin Hobb had me deal with. Like, it's wild to me. And, like, it's one of those things where I would rather not have to deal with these things a little bit, just because, like, I don't know if I want to think about them. But I guess if I'm being forced to think about these themes of rehabilitation, even of just of a whole country, because Bariyar is, like, real backwards in this galactic empire. And so if I'm, you know, thinking about these larger things of it's messy, things are slow, you have to take small gains, and, like, the rehabilitation of someone is better than just condemning them, right? Like, in theory, that's what I would like to believe. And then being forced to be like, okay, you believe in that, so here's this character, and this is what they did. And yes, there's sort of a reason why they did it, but it still doesn't make it okay. Do they deserve, you know, second, third, fourth chances, whatever? And it's tricky. It's tricky. And I think it deserves credit for that, even if I think I would have more fun if it wasn't there. I don't know. I'm both amazed and also just like, but I just want to have a silly, fun time. But I will say, in this book in particular, there are characters I have not seen in a very long time who are here, and I love them. And it's everything. So that's been fantastic. So that's a book I want to finish just because I'm really invested. I'm really invested in the situation. We just had another, like, reveal. It feels very soap opera-y, but, like, in a good way. Like, I like a soap opera. I like a drama because dramas make me want to keep going. Speaking of dramas, if you didn't know, you now know. Jane the Virgin's leaving US Netflix very soon. It might move to Max because it's a WB product. I don't know. I'm not taking chances. 2 years ago, I started Jane the Virgin. I loved it. Didn't finish it for reasons other than I'm bad at finishing TV. There's no reason for it. I was liking it. My ship was finally happening. I was having a good time. And then I just stopped. So I realized, I have, like, a week and a half. I should finish it. And I can finish the season and a half of Jane the Virgin in a week and a half. So that's also what I'm doing. It's a very different type of drama than Verkosigan. But that is to say, it's very heavy drama in Verkosigan. Like, there are some things that happen, I'm just like, that is a soap opera trope. Like, that's from a telenovela. Like, and so, but also that means I want to know what happens next. Like, that's why telenovelas are successful. They know how to, like, hook you in and make you, you know, invested. So I'm rambling now. That's what I've generally been doing in my entertainment space. I don't have really any other updates other than I'm teaching soon. And like I said, once I finish these, it'd be an amazing feat if next week I could finish off my Ursula K. Le Guin books before the end of the month and I could start September super fresh, because September looks a little heavy. Like, I think I am biting off more than I can chew in September. We'll see what happens. If you want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a swan for the Seventh Bride, because swans are apparently very evil in the Seventh Bride, or a hedgehog, if there are hedgehog emojis. I think there's more likely to be a swan than a hedgehog. Watch me have given you 2 things that have no emojis, because I truly never check. My phone is right in front of me. That's what I record on, so I can't, like, search through. But you can let me know what you're reading, doing, watching. Otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!